Hi, welcome to Code Decipher. Today we are going to look into access modifiers. Access modifiers are keywords used to specify accessibility of members such as classes, methods. Why do we need access modifier? It allows us to control members and its accessibility, so it controls which members can be accessed and which members cannot be accessed outside certain conditions or certain classes. There are different types of access modifiers: public, private, internal, protected, protected, internal, protected, private. We'll look into those in details now. Let's create a public class called book. This class is directly inside the namespace. If that is the case, then we can only declare the access modifier as either public or internal. If we try to set this up as private, then we get an error. Basically, what this rule says is, if a class is directly under a namespace, it cannot have its access modifier set as private, protected, protected internal, or private protected. It can only have its access modifier set to either internal or public. Because if we set this as private, protected, protected internal, or private protected, then we cannot access this class at all. Now let's look into this in more detail. Let's talk about public first. Public is the most accessible of all access modifiers. It makes the class or its members accessible from anywhere in the application. Now we can access this class from the static void main method or anywhere in the application. Let's create an object of the book class. We'll call this class object as book. Because this class is public, we are able to access this class and create objects from it from anywhere. Public also makes the members accessible from other assemblies. In simple terms, assembly is just a pre-compiled code that can be run by the Common Language Runtime, or CLR. CLR helps us execute the program. On the right hand side, we can see the access modifier demo, which is our main assembly, where we can find the .exe executable file. We also have a class library, which is compiled into a separate assembly from the main assembly. Let me show this by going to the location where these files are. Here we can see two different folders. So our access modifier demo, which contains our .exe file, is in a separate folder. This is our executable file, and our class library, which is a separate assembly from the main assembly, is also in a separate folder. If I delete this book class, we'll get an error because we do not have a book class to make object. Now if I move the deleted book class to a different assembly, which is our class library, then it should work again. So if I go back to my main assembly, then it should work. We no longer have any red squiggly lines underneath it. Even though our book class is in a different assembly called class library, we are still able to access it from our main assembly, which is the access modifier. So public members can be accessible from anywhere in the code, or even from different applications or assemblies. Just to keep things simple, I will keep everything in the same assembly, and let's remove it from here. Now let's look into private access modifier. Private members are only accessible within the same class. Now let's create a property called ISBN. We have made this property private and it is of type string. We have used underscore to clarify that ISBN is a private property. This is a standard convention. Now if we try to access the ISBN property from the main, we cannot access it because it is outside the book class. Let's do that. If I say book dot book name, we are getting an error. It is saying book.isbn is inaccessible due to its protection label, meaning private can only access from inside this class and cannot be accessed from anywhere else. So we'd have to delete this, but we can access this ISBN inside book class. So we have created a method that sets ISBN property. We have set the setISBN method as public, so we can call this method from the main. This method will not return anything. This is the name of the method, which is setISBN. We are passing in our ISBN number in string format. Then we will assign the pass parameter ISBN to our ISBN property. Just for confirmation, we will print to the console the value of ISBN property. $sign allows us to pull the ISBN property as long as it is within the curly braces. Now we go to the main method and we will call out, if I say book.setISBN, we are able to access this setISBN because it is public. And let's say ISBN number is 12345. Now if I press start, we are getting an error because we have a statement that says using class library at the top, but we are not using class library, so we need to delete this. ISBN has been set to 12345, so we are able to access the private property IS_ISBN only inside our book class. Then we have used the setISBN method, which is set public, from the main method. Now let's discuss internal. Internal means the member is accessible within the same assembly but not from another assembly. If I change the book class to internal, it still works because we are within the same assembly. If I move this class to another assembly, which is our class library, let's see if it's working. It is not accessible because we have moved our book class to another assembly. It will not work. That's why we are seeing these very squiggly lines, which is saying the type or namespace book could not be found, because when you set the access modifier as internal, it means it is only accessible from inside the same assembly. We have switched the assembly, that's why it's not working. So let's undo this and undo this, and it will again work now. So that is how internal access modifiers work. Now let's discuss protected. In protected, member is accessible within the same class or any of its child class. Let's create a property called title, and we will set its access modifier to protected. We can only access title within the book class or its child class. Let's see if that is the case. If I go to main method and try book.title, I cannot access it. It is saying book.title is inaccessible due to its protection level. So let's see if we can access it inside this class book. Let's create a method that sets the title property. We have set title method as public, so we can call this method from main method. This method will not return anything, and this is the name of the method. We are passing in our title in the string format. This method is now assigning the pass string parameter to the title property. Let's also print to the console for our confirmation the value of title property. So if we go to our main method and call in set title, and we will give our title a name, To Kill a Mockingbird. Let's see if that works. Yes, we have successfully set the title To Kill a Mockingbird. So we have just demonstrated that the protected can be accessed inside the same class. Now let's demonstrate that protected members can also be accessed inside the child class. Let's create a child class called ebook. We have set the access modifier to public, and it will inherit from the book class, which will be its parent class. Let's create a constructor. Constructor is a helper function that helps us to create our object. If you are not sure about constructors, please check out my video on constructors. I'll put the link in the description. Now we have created a constructor. We will set the access modifier as public. The name of the constructor must be same as the class ebook. Now we will pass in the title in the string format. Once we have done that, now we will set the title property value as the parameter value. You can see that the title property is accessible. If it was not, then we would see a red squiggly line under it. To test this, let's print to console ebook title has been set to title. Now, why is there a red squiggly line? Because the parent class internal is less accessible. It can only be accessed within the same assembly, whereas the child class is accessible everywhere. So what it is saying is parent has less accessibility than the child. That's why it is showing an error. We can easily fix this by making the parent public, so they have same level of accessibility. Now let's create our object for our ebook and pass in our title. Ebook is equal to new ebook, and we will pass in our title as 1987. Let's see if this works. Now it says title has been set to 1987. So this is working properly. We have just demonstrated that protected can be accessed by child classes as well. Please note that if the child class is in a different assembly, then also it will work. Let me demonstrate this. If I move this main class book to a different assembly, class library, and if we go back to our main assembly, why did it not work? It should work. We need to use using class library, and now it works. We need to use using class library, and it works. So we can still access the protected property from a different assembly as long as the parent and the child are linked by inheritance. Just to keep things simple, I will again undo this. Let me remove this class from here. Now let's discuss the protected internal. Protected internal is a combination of protected and internal. When we just use protected, we are able to access the members from inside the class where it has been declared and its child classes. So we cannot declare it outside of the class where it was declared and outside of the child classes. So let me show. If I do book dot title and equal to example, then it gives me an error. It says book.title is inaccessible due to its protection label, so we cannot access it outside of the class where it has been declared and its child classes. However, if we make it internal, protected internal, then all of a sudden that error is gone. So we will be able to access this title from now outside the child class and the parent class where it was declared, as long as it is within the same assembly. Now let's discuss protected private. So private is only accessible within the class where it was declared. So ideally private ISBN can only be accessed inside this class called book. We cannot access it anywhere outside. So if I do underscore ISBN and equal to ISBN and pass in parameter string ISBN, then we cannot access this property. It is saying book dot underscore ISBN is inaccessible due to its protection level, because private only allows us access inside the class book. However, if we set this as protected private, then then we are no longer seeing any errors. Now this is fully accessible. So protected private allows us to access the members within the class as well as all of its child classes. Now let's look at the coding challenge. Pause this video and take your time to go through this coding challenge. I would strongly recommend to take a read through and then try to use the knowledge that you have gained to solve this challenge. I'll also pin a comment which will have a link to the solution, but I strongly recommend that you try to solve this challenge yourself. Thank you very much for watching my video. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Happy coding!